everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Back at it with another video. I want to talk to you guys about a very important ingress that we're going to be seeing in this next week. Venus is going to be leaving the sign of Aries and moving into one of her home signs in Taurus. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. It's nice to be able to get to kind of informally meet you. Do me a favor and click the button below. Make sure you're subscribed. Give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from and how you're doing with these energies. And to those of you guys who are already subscribed, double check, make sure you're subscribed below. Sometimes it gets unsubscribed. I don't know, that's what I'm hearing in the comments. Let's jump right into it because this is going to be a nice transition considering some of the other kind of wonky transits that are in the skies right now. And I want to start by first telling you guys the time period that we're going to be working through. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Venus rules. Then we're going to touch on what this may bring about in the fixed earth sign of Taurus. We will take a look at Venus's kind of trek through this particular sign. We know she's going to have some contact with the North Node as well as Uranus. And I want to give you guys some themes to watch for before taking you through the 12 signs, letting you guys know where she's going to be bringing you some cosmic blessings. All right, so first things first, March 16th, 2023 through April 11th, 2023. Venus will be moving through all of the degrees of Taurus. So if you've got a Taurus sun, moon, rising, personal Venus placement, this is going to be a sweeter time for you. And obviously those of you guys who are Venus ruled, so if you're a Taurus or a Libra rising, you're going to feel this shift a little bit more strongly than some of the other placements. Now in astrology, we know that Venus rules over love and beauty, harmony, as well as pleasure. And she's associated with the way that we express love, right? Form relationships, and it's about appreciating beauty in all ways, shapes, and forms. Venus is what we open up to, okay? Think of like a flower. She also influences our values, desires, and our sense of aesthetics. So because of her connection to both the sign of Taurus and Libra, they're both known for their love of beauty and sensual pleasures, but in very different ways. Those of you guys who have strong Venus placements in your chart are seen as charming, beautiful, and also socially skilled. And I think that this is going to be a nice time. It's going to be a nice period watching Venus come into contact with the North Node. I think that there's going to be much more emphasis on the arts and music, dance, literature, as well as visual arts. We're going to see some nice aspects also where there's going to be some support that Venus is receiving from not just Saturn, but also a few other transits that are going to happen throughout this period of time. I think it's a time to really stop and smell the flowers, right? Focus on creativity, the ability to appreciate as well as create beauty. But Venus is not limited to just romantic love. She also focuses on all forms of love, appreciation, and affection, including the love of family, friends, and communities. So over the next few weeks, I think we're just going to see just a real focus on our values, our sense of self-worth, including what we find valuable and what we're willing to invest our time, our energy, or our resources in. Now, Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. It is fixed earth, right? Venus here is all about creature comforts. And Venus in Taurus is considered to be very harmonious and also very sensual. So here are some ways or some possible characteristics in which Venus may show herself through the weeks ahead. Number one, I would say, is appreciation for beauty. So with Venus in Taurus, we're going to see a real strong appreciation for beauty and the natural world as well as artistic expression. The love of art, music, fashion, all of these things are going to be kind of front and center, not just because of this transit, but because of Venus's contact with the North Node. And because that North Node is still going to be in a Venus-based sign, at least until this summer, we are really trying to embody some of these characteristics. Anything that's going to engage our senses, right? If it smells good, tastes good, feels good, Taurus placements opt for quality over quantity and often want something that is going to be more natural or organic. Building on that love for creature comforts, yeah, I mean, love of comfort, a strong desire for that, but Venus here really wants stability. The pleasures of good food, cozy surroundings, that's great, but it also wants to know, do I have a solid foundation? Am I safe? Am I secure? You know, is this something that I can value, right? That's another thing that comes up with Venus. Venus does rule over money, okay? And anything in regards to the social side of exchanges and purchasing, or even your purchasing power, right? Venus here in this particular sign of Taurus has a real strong connection also to loyalty. So this particular placement can be very deep in a sense of loyalty. There is a focus on commitment and more traditional relationships. Granted, we're going to see a little bit of some bumps along the road because Venus will make contact with Uranus. But generally, there's a strong desire for security and dependability. And Venus here really focuses on the willingness to invest time and energy into cultivating long-lasting connections or investments. So Venus is going to look at, well, is this a safe and dependable or reliable investment of my time in this person, in this stock, right, in this thing? So we may find ourselves really thinking about what is going to bring us long-term security and results. When I think of Venus and Taurus, I think of sensuality, and there's often a strong physical and sensual nature with Venus and Taurus. So there may be a love for touch, intimacy, physical pleasures, and also consistency with these experiences. So once we have something that we become accustomed to, a certain clothing brand that we like, a certain perfume that we like, the stable kind of resources that we're used to bringing in, we don't want to give that up. And this can go beyond just, like I said, the creature comforts. This can also be about wanting that consistent, constant touch and connection of something that is safe and secure or familiar. The other side here, because Venus does have connections to being jealous or lazy or possibly even possessive. Definitely in the sign of Taurus, we can see some possessiveness. Those of you guys who have a natal Venus in Taurus, or maybe Venus in the second house, you know that with this placement, there can be a tendency towards possessiveness and attachment. There may be a sense of ownership or sometimes even control in relationships and a fear of losing what is valued. So it kind of reminds me, like, you know, like little kids on the playground, there's a sense of like licking their finger and being like, that's mine, I touched it. You know, like that possessiveness, like don't touch it. You know, I already claim this to be mine. Very Venus and Taurus. And I think that we're going to see, even in spite of some of these characteristics that can kind of pop up, I think the square to Pluto as Venus is first coming into Taurus, I think the conjunction to Uranus is really going to show us where, yes, security and stability is important, but it can't be to a fault. Like there can't be the sense of us holding on to something so tightly that we become consumed with it. Uranus is going to make us shake that out of our system. And thankfully, finally, after several long years of seeing planets transit through the fixed signs, it was getting kind of all banged up, right? With squares to Saturn in Aquarius. We've also seen the North and the South node in fixed signs. So as Venus swings through that North node, it's really going to be focusing on where we're growing into stability and security in the future. It wants us to engage with what really kind of tickles our pleasure sensors this particular week. So I want to take you guys through Venus's trek throughout these next couple of weeks between now and the 11th of April. And we're going to start first by talking about the Venus-Pluto square that's going on just right off the bat. So as many of you guys know, Venus has been moving through the cardinal fire sign of Aries. She's been kind of spicy and active and kind of kicking up a lot of conflict. I didn't share the same perspective as a lot of astrologers about Venus's move through the sign and the conjunction to Jupiter and Chiron. If anything, I feel like it's been enhancing and showing us where there's been active wounding going on in relationships, active wounding going on in financial situations, individuals, right? Aries feeling that crunch of not always feeling loved or maybe feeling kind of left out. So I'm pleased to announce Venus going into Taurus. I think for relationships, I do believe for some financial situations, I do believe for pleasure and arts or aesthetics, like we are going to see something stable out a little bit. And it's a wonderful transit to see Venus touch on the North Node because that North Node is ruled by Venus. But straight out the gate, we see this kind of jealous, you know, animosity type friction between Venus and Pluto. Perhaps you guys have been feeling this play out the last couple of days. Okay, great. It can create some sexual tension, Venus square Pluto, but I'm not wild seeing both of these planets at 29 degrees because it does suggest that there is a karmic turning point. You know, I always talk about the volume knob being turned up very loud when planets are at 29 degrees because it feels like a tipping point. As I film this, it's the 13th. We've seen really since last week, lots of shakes and rattles and rolls in the financial world. We've got, you know, banks that are collapsing in Silicon Valley. We're seeing all kinds of volatility going on with cryptocurrency. You've got people who are making comments about whether or not, you know, there's going to be bank runs. I guess I should tell you guys, I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, that's not my bag. I'm an astrologer. So I talk to you about how I am forecasting, you know, the planetary transits taking place. And the truth is, the fact that Venus is going to square Pluto is showing us where we are feeling the crunch on an individual level, Aries, as to whether or not we feel like we have control, Pluto, over our resources, okay? And this is real, like this is really happening right now. So whether you're one of those people who's, you know, been debating whether or not it's time to diversify your portfolio or to have some cash on hand or to move some things around, it's safe to say with Venus-Pluto squares, we feel disempowered in regards to whether or not we have what we need to feel safe and secure. And there can be some like real pivotal moments in regards to resources and whether or not we feel like we have what we need in order to survive. So if you've been feeling this crunch over the last few days, it is very real. I do believe everybody's going to feel the ingress, especially if you're a very Venusian chart. Yes, we've got some really, really hectic astrology, right? If you guys saw my most recent video where I talked about like that Julius Caesar moment, getting stabbed in the back, something kind of coming out of nowhere with Mars square Neptune. This is happening. Micro, macro, however you look at it, we are feeling this in the world. There is a sense of really going back and forth and trying to determine whether or not we're going to be a hero, Mars, or we're going to be a victim, Neptune. And the question is where do we draw the line? Do we become a victim as a result of not taking action? Do we feel victimized and disempowered, and there in turn we feel like we have no control? It's clear that the universe is saying, hey, listen, we're going to get your guys' attention by really talking to your pocketbooks, your bank accounts, your wallets, your crypto accounts, what have you. And I think that if there's any takeaway from this video, and I have heard this is where I'm getting this from, but I'm applying it to the astrology. I've heard this from a lot of people talk about this in the crypto scene, right? If you don't possess it, if you don't have it, it's not yours. And most of the time they're talking about whether or not you have your money on an exchange or you have it on a separate wallet. And if you've got cold storage, that way it's a little bit safer, right? It's not sitting on an exchange. You're not having some like mess go on where something collapses or there's some kind of fluke that's going on with transactions and you can't pull your money out, okay? But I'm gonna keep repeating this through this video. And you guys are gonna have to read between the lines a little bit, but if you do not possess your money, okay, you do not have security. And you can apply that to whatever you want, right? And when I talk about security, it's not just about cash in hand, right? Venus in Taurus talks about the food that you have in your pantry, the cash that you have in your wallet, the physical metals that you have that you could potentially hold on to if, for God forbid, you needed to trade or barter, the seeds that you've been saving because you're anticipating planting a garden or you don't want to wait for food shortages. That's what Venus in Taurus is going to teach us. So this is going to come out on the 14th. That's when you guys are watching this. My advice to you guys is sit down, take stock in terms of what it is that you need for physical security. You need food, throw some in your cupboard, right? Throw a couple extra cans of soup or some pasta in there. If you feel like you need to be able to have cash in the off chance there's some weirdness with the banks, take some cash out, whatever you can afford, a little bit, you know, just keep it on the sides. And guess what? If I'm wrong, worst case scenario, you can go put that back in the bank. But if I'm right, you're not going to have to be struggling and waiting in long lines, hoping to be able to pull money out of a bank account or showing up and waiting in a line for an ATM only to realize that you're going to be charged some crazy fee to pull money out or that there's no money to pull out at all. So hopefully I'm wrong. But I think I will go on a limb here and say I do think I'm going to be right. I've gotten a lot of emails from people who've been asking me questions and making comments about things that I've said over the last few months, and now we're starting to kind of see some of these hard truths become unveiled. I don't think it's purely just because of Venus's ingress. I think a lot of this is Pluto and the fact that we've got Pluto getting ready to move into Aquarius. Pluto does deal with change, transformations, shocks, surprises, and power struggles. What do you guys think happens when Pluto moves into a sign that is associated with rebellion, change, transformation, technology, right? It's almost like somebody hit the fast forward button in terms of moving forward with this agenda to really push a CBDC, or to really, get us into a position where we're being scared or feeling cornered into having to make some really difficult decisions in regards to our resources. My advice is go educate yourself, see what's going on in other places in the world where they are starting to kind of push this agenda, and look at how it's actually panning out. So we start with this Venus-Pluto square, and that's going to be on the 17th. That's going to be on the 15th. And then just hours later, we're going to see Venus ingress into Taurus. And that's going to be on the 16th in the evening hours. Venus hits 0 degrees. Even though she's moved into Taurus, until we get Venus to like at least 2 or 3 degrees, she's still in a square to Pluto. So what I'm anticipating is both between this hot mess of a mutable T-square here and the fact that the moon is coming into contact with Pluto, where we're going to hear about emotional fears, emotional power struggles. Capricorn is government. We're going to be hearing themes revolving around collectively, like where there is some kind of control or where there is something stepping in. From what I understand, the Fed may not necessarily be adding, higher interest rates, perhaps trying to kind of diffuse some of the things that are going on right now. But it's hard to not look at some stuff that's happening financially in the world and go, wow, this could potentially be a House of Cards moment. So I don't underestimate the Moon-Pluto conjunction, the Moon-Pluto sextile, all of this Pisces, trying to de-escalate and kind of walk things back and calm some of the fears in regards to what's going on in the world. We can see hysteria with Mars square Neptune. There can be a sense of people getting panicked and running to go and do things, and like fear spreading very quickly. But as the moon gets closer and closer to Pluto, it's still squaring Venus. So I think that we may hear about round about the 16th, 17th, anything in regards to where government or political structures or entities are kind of stepping in and having a say as to what you can and cannot do with money, or who they will or will not bail out. I'm going to be listening and hearing more about what's going on. A lot of people kind of look at like the FDIC as, oh, well, it's fine, it's secure, it's okay. Well, yeah, unless you have more than $250,000 in a given account. And even some of this stuff starts to make me kind of wonder, because if we take a step back and look at, well, what happens if we do really start to see devaluation of the US dollar, and we really do start to see like a real economic crisis, will money even be valuable? I mean, that's the question, I anticipate over this transit with Venus coming into contact with the North Node, we're going to see more valuable situations going on with like hard metals, hard assets, land, property, anything in regards to agriculture. And we know that anything that touches the North Node, there can be a sense of growth, or it can be unexpected, or it can be something that's kind of bizarre or futuristic. So then Venus will come into contact with Uranus. Now that is a completely different thing in terms of turbulence, and it's a completely different thing in terms of relationships, but I have a hunch that we are going to start to see where, because of some of the things that have gone on in the world recently with these like gas wars, right, with Russia and the United States, or if you want to look at the war in Ukraine, I do think that there's potentially going to be a lot of value in looking at stocks that are going to have natural gas resources, people who are beginning to start mining, things like that. In particular, Venus rules copper, so I've got my eye on copper stocks and stuff to kind of see what's potentially a good investment, because, well, we know later this year in May, Jupiter is going to go through this part of the skies, and it's going to touch on these degrees and on the North Node. So for some of you guys, what might seem like a hot mess out in the world and a meltdown situation might be the chef's kiss opportunity to invest in something, to put up some assets if you're willing to take a risk, to see a big reward later this year. Something else that I like right off the bat is that we are going to see Venus that's in a sextile to Saturn. So at least we've got some support here, right? Saturn is the stabilizer. Saturn is the security zone. It wants to lay the groundwork and basically hold something tight and secure, allowing us to build safe and stable foundations. Now, a sextile is a Venusian aspect. It's kind of lazy, but it is supporting. So I like to see Venus in Taurus from a sextile with Pisces. In particular, I'm looking at, well, where could there be natural gases that we can be looking in foreign places? Where can we be finding new ways of seeing resources or stability coming from the ocean? Is it going to be water-powered things? Is it going to be new, eco farming and stuff that's being done on water? Just kind of the vibe that I'm getting with Venus in a sextile to Saturn. And I do feel like it's going to prompt some of us to really get active with looking at new ways to maybe even make money or, make new investments. Really good sign for just resources generally overall. Even though we're feeling a little blue with Saturn and Pisces, there can be this sense of being unsure or a little iffy, or maybe we're kind of taking a step back and we're just reevaluating things and thinking things through before we make moves. The truth is that to make the best sound decisions and investments in love, in money, in our health, we have to really keep checking in with ourselves, because Saturn in Pisces is about connecting to our higher self and making sure that something really resonates with us in a very spiritual way. So when in doubt, check in, ask yourself, does this feel right? Does this feel natural? Then we're going to see on the 20th, that Venus is going to come into contact with the North Node. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to this. This is the last time you're going to see this, because in July, the North Node is going to move into Aries. It'll be a year and a half of focus on Mars energy. So this is, I think, quite positive between now and, let's say, May. As we see planets swing through Taurus, we're going to see things physically grow, manifest, develop, right? Because Taurus is about life. So when we have Venus conjunct the North Node, the way forward is love, right? The way forward is opening to security, opening to stability, opening to life. And it's going to be at a 4. So it's a very Cancerian degree. So there is this sense of, I'm adding more beauty to my home. I'm starting a family. I'm investing in real estate. I'm thinking about painting the walls. I'm thinking about planting a garden. These are things that are going to give you support, even if it's just that emotional support, even if it's just a color that you feel like is going to, make you feel a little bit more comfortable or a little bit more cozy. Like, why not make a trip to Home Depot, redo something in your house, hang some art. That's what Venus wants to do. She wants to be able to add more aesthetics to our life to make it a little bit more sparkly and alluring and attractive. Also, I think of family. I think of, the world can be a crazy place right now, but in spite of that, take stock in what you do have, not what you don't have. It's a very glass is half full. I think Taurus wants to simplify things, so there can be a lot of beauty in looking at things like, well, we've got the capabilities of making this beautiful, healthy meal at home, and we have our health and our kids and our partners and our house, right? And even if you happen to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, what are you making of that? Where are you able to kind of take stock and pride in what you do have, and not look at it as, well, we can't have the new car in the garage, we can't afford to go out to dinner, we're not buying the nicest clothes. No, but the North Node in Taurus is teaching us that there are some things that money cannot buy, right? There are some things that money cannot buy. So I believe that the human spirit is resilient above all else, that even in difficult times, you will see it continue to rise and evolve. A lot of this is about evolution. So we're going to realize that we can get by with very little and have appreciation for what we do have and quality things, not necessarily quantity. As we start to see that conjunction, we will focus more on relationships. We will focus more on love, right? It's inevitable. That's what's going to happen. And it's an interesting time right as we're starting to see the moon within its dark moon phase coming into this new moon in in Aries. You guys saw my new moon in Aries video, right? I was like, it's going to get really weird right before the beginning of the year when we have the ingress of the sun into Aries. It's going to feel like everything's washing out. And so when that's happening, I would say spend the extra $10, bring yourself some flowers home from the grocery store, throw the bath bomb into the tub and soak for a little bit. Spend time outside working in a garden, you know, like do the face mask. As silly as it sounds, there need to be these little indulgences that we have to really calm the nervous system, to really kind of tune into self-care, to really allow ourselves to feel stable and secure in what can feel like a little bit of a wobbly time. The next day, we're then going to see Venus still in contact with the North Node, but she's coming into conjunction with Juno. And this is a very romantic conjunction. I call this like a Cinderella transit for people who are having this in their natal chart. If transit Juno and Venus are in conjunction in your chart, vice versa either way, or there's like a trine, it can be a time where there can be real significant partnerships that are arriving in your life. Now, out in the world, just kind of generally, North Node, Venus, Juno is where are we focusing on partnership, right? Where are we saying, hey, you can't feed yourself, you know, you've got bread, I've got some vegetables, let's trade. Where are we being more generous? Where are we focusing more on being able to nourish the soul? People always talk about rising their kundalini and the retreats that they go to and the programs that they take. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But I always tell people, like, if you really want to raise your kundalini, if you really want to help other people, or you really want to experience higher levels of consciousness, feed people, right? Give them food, give them supplies, give them clothes, welcome them into your home. That North Node in Taurus is all about feeding the soul. So what I like about Venus and Juno in conjunction is I think now more than ever, it's a time to look around and go, wow, like, did I choose the right person for what almost seems like the Hunger Games? I say that like jokingly, but look at your significant other or your partner, right? Or look at your business partner, or look at your roommate, or look at whoever you have in terms of partnership in life. And if not, it's going to be something where you're really focusing on like, wow, I need that like other part that's going to help me when we need to really focus on security and stability. Those of you guys who are in relationships, it's the time to kind of say, how can we build better together? How can we focus on, stability, and also just simplifying our lives in a financial way, but also in a sense of prioritizing pleasure? Because I think a lot of things that are going on right now are trying to desensitize us, pull us out of our body. And when we're doing that, we're not grounded, right? So it's really easy as, human beings having a spiritual experience, being in this experience, or like I call it the matrix of getting scared about not having food, not having resources. But when you bring yourself back and you start to kind of have that other person that can keep you tethered and remind you like, it's okay, we've got this, we're going to build this together. I think that that Venus-Juno conjunction is really going to show us where there's so much value in having a solid other half, and where we can bring in more stability with others. So it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be platonic. It can also be about the relationships that we have with our banks, okay, Taurus, with the people who are our financial advisors, who have our back during tough times. And this is still in a sextile with Saturn. So we're still kind of like, hey, thank God I've got that, like financial advisor who gave me heads up about X, Y, and Z. And we got on a call and they prioritized talking to me and told me that I needed to, move stuff here or do this or do that. Some of you guys may be doing that in the days ahead. And like I said, those of you guys who are looking for relationship, this can be a wonderful time for relationships, and people can pop in that bring you substance. They bring value to your life in some way. Hopefully, maybe they'll bring you cookies too with that conjunction. We'll see. Then on the 30th, this is when things get a little weird. We are going to see Venus come into contact with Uranus. And that's going to be happening at 16 degrees. So if you have a sun moon rising around, let's say 14 to 18 degrees of Taurus, natal Venus also, watch out. This is going to be a Venus return that's going to be a little wild, huh? what do we get when we have, you know, that connection? Once again, we're seeing it at another Cancer degree. We're seeing it at 16 degrees. So I'm watching the housing market. I'm watching stuff that's going on also in regards to homelands. I think of like cities and countries and places that are very Cancerian in their nature. There's going to be some rocks and rattles and rolls for sure with finances. I think when we see the goddess of love meet up with, you know, Uranus, who just wants to throw lightning bolts into situations, one of several things can happen. The positive of this conjunction that I like is that it is very much like love at first sight, right? So there can be like meeting that person that just like takes your breath away, or it feels like it was meant to be, or as soon as you connect with them, you're like, there's something here. Equally, it can be an opportunity to, you know, win some money in a lottery. It could be a moment where you have a huge unexpected windfall. That shock and surprise and that element of Venus coming together for some could be some really great developments in regards to their finances. Uranus is electricity, so I'm going to be watching and seeing what's going on with cryptocurrency. I'm kind of amused to see in the midst of what's going on with some trouble in the financial world, we see like Bitcoin that's up like 20% over the last couple of days. And there's no surprise because perhaps some people are realizing that may be a much more stable place to kind of park their money rather than leaving it in saving accounts. Maybe, I don't know. The downside is if there's a big risk there and there's a gamble, there can be losses. That means if you're gambling with, you know, your rent, if you're, you know, taking a gamble and cheating on a partner, on a spouse, it can lead to like an eruption in a relationship and shocks and surprises and things coming out that maybe you were not ready for. It really depends on the aspects in your own personal chart, but I will say this. Considering at this point in time, Pluto will have already moved into Aquarius and that Uranus is the dispositor for Aquarius, the Venus-Uranus conjunction is very much likely to be somehow tied to Pluto in Aquarius. I want to remind you guys also that the North and the South node at 4 degrees, they're moving in on a square with Pluto. This is why I kept saying to everybody last year, I was like, you don't want to wait until we get to spring of 2023 when the node square Pluto and you're going to feel like, oh my goodness, like shift is hitting the fan. Now I'm forced to change. We don't want to feel like that. That conjunction is going to be the first kind of feelings of, oh, now I'm feeling forced to change, unfortunately. We will continue to see the square all the way up into summertime. When the North and the South node go into Aries and Libra, it's going to square Pluto still at 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn, and shift hits the fan again in July. So what's happening now is not a blip on the radar. So whether you're having financial issues or you're having problems in a relationship, both of these things, if they are a problem, make them bigger. Deal with them head on. Be willing to simplify and really focus on what you can physically, tangibly maintain or afford or hold on to. This is a day that I would watch because I do think that it can bring some turbulence, especially in regards to financial markets. So if you have stuff set on your trading platforms, if you have levels set those levels. If you are doing transactions with crypto, you need to be really watching all of that stuff because we're going to see the moon go into Leo, oppose Pluto, and it's going to go like this and it's going to ding the nodes. So the moon is the collective energy, right? That's usually what triggers events. When it makes that opposition to Pluto and it squares, everybody's going to go, holy cow, this thing is happening, right? So it's not just one thing. There's a whole number of, different instruments in the cosmos that are all kind of playing the same like bars and rhythms that's kind of screaming like there is some kind of change coming. I would say, the positive is that for those of you guys who are really looking to see, changes and diversifying your portfolios, or maybe you're spicing up your love life, or you're looking to wear a wacky or a weird new color, you want to dye your hair purple. Those of you guys who are just feeling like you want to shake things up a little bit and you need more excitement in your life, maybe you'll like this transit. But generally, I don't see too many people deal well with it because there can be stress that can come from some of these changes because it's brought on very quickly like a lightning bolt, right? All right, so then we're going to see on the 6th of April, we're going to see Venus in a sextile with Neptune. Now, I like this. I think it's nice. I think that there is a sense of kind of like coming back down from some of the craziness that has been going on. It is supportive. It does make me feel like if we are really tapped into the vision or intuition, our dreams, our forecasts, whatever, you know, we're tapping into, maybe it's in meditation, maybe it's in a therapy session, we're able to better navigate and figure out what direction we're going in. It is dreamy. It is nice for socializing. I think that in this particular, you know, instance, though, there's other stuff that's going on this day. We're just coming off of a full moon in Libra. So, yeah, I'm not so sure. Because we are still seeing Venus that's in close proximity to Uranus. But the Venus-Neptune sextile is really one of the only nicer aspects that we see in regards to, you know, a moon that's ruled by Venus. It's going to be an interesting full moon. Sun conjunct Jupiter, Libra moon in opposition. Chiron is very strongly tied. I think we feel whenever there is a full moon in Aries or Libra, this feeling of separation of, you know, who are we separately and are we good together? And what am I putting in and what are you putting in? And like, are we working out or things kind of meeting in the middle? So Libra full moons have us focusing on obviously relationships and partnerships, but we're going to see that where relationships are getting kind of dinged or hindered is because of the inability for individuals to kind of show up or do their due diligence. But still, it's a decent aspect. I'd like to see more support as Venus continues to move through Taurus and she gets closer to Gemini. She is building into a trine with Pluto. So it's a loose trine, 6 degrees, but I'm looking forward to seeing Venus trine Pluto because I think that that's going to be kind of giving us signals in terms of where the future of financial security is coming from. Venus in Gemini is going to talk a lot about diversifying the ways that we have money, 2 accounts, 2 options, 2 different currencies maybe, and kind of, you know, like not putting all of our eggs in one basket, right? And then finally, that will be happening on the 11th. So we will see Venus stay until the 11th, and then she will move into Gemini, and that'll be a video I'll talk about later on. But Venus will then come into a trine with Pluto, and these are in air signs, and they're at 0 degrees, okay? Aquarius is going to deal more about collective and the future and things that relate to technology and stuff that can kind of move at lightning speed and stuff that's meant to empower the masses. Venus in Gemini makes me feel like there's probably going to be like new platforms that might pop up. We might also see that people are going, hey, I made a bit of money off of this run, off of this crypto exchange or whatever. Maybe this is a way for me to start moving things in. And I think for some of you guys, it may be a really lucky period. It's also going to be factored in with a Sun-Jupiter conjunction. So depending on your personal charts, obviously, but something about this day makes me feel like it's very fortuitous. There may be a lot of people that suddenly find that they, you know, have a run up in something, or they make an investment into stocks while they're down and severely undervalued. And then within about a month, we might see a total turnaround and people are cashing out. So wouldn't surprise me. But that's basically going to be the track that we're going to see Venus go through. Here's just a few archetypes to kind of watch, or maybe people to kind of watch over the next few weeks. Number 1 is going to be artists. So I'm really anticipating seeing some real significant artists, some new art with that conjunction to Uranus, some interesting NFTs and digital arts that are going to be coming out. Values of that I do think are going to increase exponentially over the summer because, like I said, Jupiter will be there soon. Watch the farmers, okay? What the farmers are doing. Who's out there feeding people? Who's out there protecting the earth? Who's out there saying we need to preserve seeds, we need to preserve rainforests and trees and animals, and we need to have respect. We can't just be pillaging and taking everything. There needs to be an exchange. Watch the builders, architects, people who are out there talking about how we can build stronger foundations, literally or figuratively, how we can be building up society, how we can be supporting families and really focusing on what is stable, right? In the wake of a lot of these earthquakes recently, I think that we're learning more about the importance of not just shoddy work, right? I think about the infrastructure in at least the United States and whether or not like our tax dollars are actually going to making a difference in making sure that buildings and roads and levees and all kinds of things are solid and secure. I also want you guys to watch out for miners. So miners, mining, anything in regards to that stuff, I think we're going to hear more about. Maybe even jewelers, right? Designers, makeup artists, estheticians, all of these things are very much connected to Taurus. And just some food for thought that I want you guys to remember over this week. Ask yourself, what do I physically possess? Okay, as a reminder, if you do not physically, tangibly possess it, if you cannot hold it in your hand, because a lot of people are going to go, oh, I have $100,000 in the bank. What do you have right now? It's a number. What do you have in your hand? Food, resources, physical goods, metal, cash on hand. You guys are going to look back at this video about a week or two from now and go, oh my God, this is actually what happened. So just heed my advice. Whatever you can manage, throw a little bit somewhere safe in your place and you'll feel secure. Ask yourself what feels natural, but more importantly, what comes naturally to you, right? You want to follow those impulses and get ready for growth, right? It's all about building security because in May, when Jupiter goes into the sign of Taurus, it's going to move through these degrees and we're going to see where it actually paid off making investments, planting seeds, and we're going to start to see growth and we're going to really feel like we've got something that's very valuable. Above all, embrace simplicity. We want to move out of the lower octave of Taurus that really focuses more on hoarding and not sharing or going, that's mine. The real true Taurus energy goes, I know that there's enough because we can grow more. We can share, right? There is a way for us to be able to kind of put everything together and there is an abundance for everyone. So embrace simplicity, develop patience and persistence because we know things take time to develop. They take time to grow. So whether it's like a stock portfolio or it's a garden or it's a child, we have to be patient and allow that to have that time in that space and be willing to put that nurturing energy into seeing it develop. Connect with nature above all else. Even if you live in an urban space, it can be something as simple as planting some gardens or some like herbs like in a windowsill or in a window box. If you want to take a stroll in the park, take your shoes off, take the dog for a walk, go hiking, just connect with nature any way you can. Even if you have to take a little bit of time out of your day or go out of your way to do that, it's going to help you really get into the energy of Taurus. Learn about gardening, aromatherapy, cooking, anything like that that's really going to help you get in touch with your senses and with that element of earth. And opt for things like massage, physical touch, or anything that's going to stimulate those six senses, okay? So I'm going to take you guys through the 12 signs very briefly and let you know where Venus is moving through that part of your chart. And she's going to be sprinkling sweetness to wherever she goes, so don't worry about that. As always, I am a Western astrologer, so I practice tropical astrology. I'm going to be giving you guys the 12 signs, and it's going to be the rising signs that you want to listen to first, followed by the sun and the moon, but all may apply. If you want to listen for your whole sign, that's fine because you're going to see that Venus is going to go through all of those degrees, right? So you can actually listen to your whole sign for this prediction. If you're wondering for like the conjunction to Uranus, you want to see if you're a Placidus user, where is 16 degrees Uranus transiting in your chart of Taurus? But yeah, you guys can listen to your Placidus or your whole sign. Some of you guys like to listen also to your progress chart. So it's choose your own adventure, right? So let's go ahead and make this. There we go. Let's make this a whole sign chart. And we are going to start with Aries and Aries rising. All right. So for my Aries and Aries risings, you have got Venus that is going to be moving through Taurus in your natal second house, okay? So you'll see this transit, obviously throughout about the next month or so. Venus is happy in the second house, right? She's focusing on money and personal security, what tastes good, what feels good. Equally, Venus rules your 7th house of relationships. So you may find that you're really focusing on what you're investing in, what you're sharing with other people, like fine meals. It can be about giving or receiving gifts. It can be about really talking to partners about money. So whether you're talking more about your spending habits or you're talking about your investments, something about this transit makes me feel like you're feeling supported just by being able to have this back and forth with another person. It is possible that you are also talking about what you're wanting to purchase, what you're wanting to invest in, because the 2nd house in astrology might be your money, right? But it also connects to the money that you share with others. So you might be talking about taxes, you might be talking about paying off debts or loans. And definitely there is this feeling of, I want to make it myself. I want to bring it in myself, right? And so there's going to be a lot of like personal fulfillment. I think in being able to go, I made this, I brought this in, I, got the bonus, I earned it. There's this sense of just really feeling fulfilled with being able to bring this in. So good luck to you guys. I definitely think it's really good financial things on the horizon for you. Just wait until May shows up and you're going to see those transits with Jupiter and the North Node in your 2nd house. So there's definitely going to be some growth and expansion. But nevertheless, you're working hard for the money, right? You're working hard for the money. So it's not going to be something that is going to come easy, but it'll be very fulfilling in the end. Let's see what the tarot says for you, my Aries. Ooh. What did I say? Working hard for it. 10 of Wands. Coming to the end of what's been a challenging time. I think that this is about getting the reward at the end, but nevertheless, it's like, this is a lot of work. Moving, doing everything yourself. I mean, like working the long hours, the double shifts, whatever you have to do to really put in that work, but you're going to really start to see the reward. 10s are about completions, okay? So there has been a lot of action taking place and you're right at the tail end of something and you're about to like close out a deal maybe. Right? Or you're about to kind of close on something and you're just bringing everything together so that way you feel like you're achieving some of your financial dreams, but still, nevertheless, it has been difficult to complete. Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's going on, Taurus? Well, Venus rules your chart. Okay, so you got Venus and the North Node. It's all about you. How do you look? How do you feel? What do you enjoy? What do you love? You got to nurture yourself, give yourself a little bit of TLC, be willing to have an extra scoop of honey, that piece of chocolate. It's about indulging, but I think it's not just indulging, it's also health, finding balance, right? Balance. I always say like, you can have Sunday as like your cheat day. Finding balance in your routine, Venus rules your 6th house of health, daily routine and habits. And then the 1st house is the body. So I feel like there's a sense of being like self-love is also having the smoothie, right? It's also knowing that you're taking time to do your stretches, go for walks, focus on health and wellness, not just treating yourself, but like really taking care of yourself. There is wonderful energy here for pampering the body and aesthetics. So I think of like comfortable clothes, I think of new cosmetics, I think of new hairstyles. Definitely take some photos with Venus in your sign. It is going to bring more love and beauty and attraction to you. And here comes Jupiter here soon in just a couple short months. And that's also going to be bringing this transformation of yourself, larger than life energy. So maybe you're just tuning into that. There's also just a lot of like abundance work and reminding yourself of what's coming in and what you're worth having and like your value. And you got to remind yourself of that, right? If you need to check in with your beauticians or your medical or your like fitness team people, do so. Venus rules the 6th house. So if you're needing to check in with somebody who can help you put together a closet, a wardrobe, perfect something about your body, this is also a wonderful time to do that. Let's see what the cards say for you, Taurus. Page of Wands, active, right? Having fun, playful. This also makes me feel like this is about kind of heating things up. Venus in your sign can have you very much open when it comes to the love department. You can feel a little bit more frisky. especially as we start seeing Mars going into Cancer. We're going to see some slight sextile action between the two. So I do feel like, yeah, you can kind of be feeling like you're getting your groove back here a little bit, and you might be more inclined to want to feel romantic if you're getting out of town, or you're going somewhere new, or you're just kind of getting out around town and doing things and finding yourself in some fresh spaces. The Page of Wands is about being curious and being willing to kind of have adventure and kind of being playful. So there can be a little bit more of like a playful, flirty side that's coming out in you right now, okay? Enjoy this, Taurus. It's a good transit. I hope that it brings you lots of love. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising, and you're going to be having Venus transit through Taurus in your 12th house, my Geminis. There can be opportunity for some like sexy time behind the scenes. Venus rules your 5th house of romance, joy, creativity, and children. It also rules your 12th house. On one hand, it's very hidden, it's very spiritual. I've been telling all my Gemini risings, like, have a little ritual or something that you do for Venus at night before you go to bed. You know, like put some flowers out, burn some incense. You know, if you're gonna have a glass of wine, pour her a little glass of wine too. Have something sweet, wear some perfume to bed, something that's really connecting to the goddess in like the bedtime, you know, area. Because the 12th house is like what's hidden, and it can also be about temples and centers and altars. Foreign love, travel, you know, doing any kind of goddess work or worship. Also, I think of like painting or designing or creating in a back room, anything where you're feeling inspired. It can be great for lovers though, because, you know, Venus rules the 5th house. So you might have a little bit more kind of time between the sheets with somebody. It can also bring the sense of feeling like you need more privacy when it comes to your love life. But even though it's hidden, it can be very romantic, and it can be very fulfilling. Venus will touch Uranus, and that's why I think that it's about being like, okay, there's like love with somebody abroad, or planning a trip with somebody romantic. Maybe it's about falling in love with something you're studying or something that you're learning. That's possible as well. And if you're talented in the areas of like film or photography, that can also be a way that you can use some of this energy throughout the next month or so, right before Venus comes into your sign. Let's take a look at what the cards say for you, my Gemini. Ooh, I mean, I called it. 8 of Wands. This can be a card that definitely is talking about more sexual energies. It's very much like it's action-packed, right? It's fun, and it's something maybe where you're getting excited because you know something is coming. Maybe you are focusing on just like full steam ahead with a creative project, and you're feeling very inspired, and you're just like up all night and you're working on it, but you're enjoying the process. 8 of Wands talks about energy shifting very quickly. It also talks about you being driven towards a specific goal. Okay, so this should make sense to you. You should know what I'm talking about. Somehow it relates to the 5th house. So if it's not sex and intimacy, it's definitely something that's very creative. Have fun, Gemini. That's a good card for you. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You are going to be experiencing Venus going through Taurus, and that'll be in your natal 11th house. My Cancers, this is a fun place to have this. You know, groups, goals, parties are all possible. I think that when Venus moves into the 11th house, there's always this friend that's like, come over, I've got this awesome bottle of wine, like I'm gonna make dinner, like let's get together. Somebody will invite you over to feel like you're a part of a group, probably into their home, right? Because Venus rules the 4th. It could be that a family member is having a party. It could be that you're having a party. Maybe you've moved into a new place, or you've got, you know, like a new decor and you want to host a dinner party and you want to invite over friends and family. That's possible as well. But you may hear that somebody's having a wedding, getting married, having a baby shower. Like there's some kind of sense of celebrating. And it also makes you excited because it's about changes that are going on with this particular friend group. Goals come to mind in the 11th house. You got to think about, what are your goals, right? Are you opening up to meeting new people, meeting new friends, finding your tribe? Now, Taurus naturally sextiles your sign, Cancer. So I do feel like people are going to come in that are going to make you feel more loved, more so appreciated, and you're really going to enjoy spending the time with some of these people. I'm loving the sextile to Saturn and Saturn support. It's telling me that maybe you're realizing that family or friends are not just limited to people in your immediate surroundings. It could be people who are coming in from out of town or people who live in other places. So if you're traveling or if you're having visitors, this is a wonderful way to be able to utilize this energy. Just get out there and get social. You're going to see over the next few months the importance of having good friends, and also you're having friends in high places, right? I love Taurus in the 11th house. You got friends that are going to be chefs and artists and jewelers and creatives, and the caliber of people that you're going to start spending time with are definitely going to be much higher. And also just like a little bit more so grounded in life. So it can be very supportive in helping you kind of feel inspired with really figuring out what direction you're going to be going in as well. The card that I got for you is the Six of Swords. So this is interesting, limbo. I'm wondering, like, are you needing to move? Does somebody say, hey, I've got a space? Are you thinking about moving in with a friend? Is a friend saying, hey, come and visit me for a couple of days or a couple of weeks? When this card comes up, it's about moving on and like moving into calmer, more stable spaces. So if you've had some turbulence in recent weeks, it does feel like it would be nice to kind of get back into the swing of being social and seeing some of your friends, and maybe letting them know like where you've been or what's been going on, because they may be able to provide you with some kind of like support, right? They're gonna be willing to kind of hold space and talk to you about what's been going on with your home, your family, or your personal living situation. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? This is a good one for you. I like this a lot. Leo, you have Venus moving through Taurus, and it's in your natal 10th house in regards to career. So you have Venus in an angular house, okay, which is very visible. Venus rules natally your 3rd house of communication and your 10th house of career. So at the very least, this is a wonderful time for giving speeches, launching something, doing campaigns, being able to socialize and kind of mix with clients, especially if you have to travel for any of this, or you're having to like hold meetings and like getting together with others. But what I'm really curious about is with Venus and Uranus coming into contact, and Uranus rules your 7th, there is a sense of you getting ready to like tell the world something big, like, this is my significant other, or I got engaged, or this is my new business partner, or I'm, like deciding to get divorced, but I'm thrilled with it. Like there's something positive here, because Venus and Uranus is shocking, but I do think that it's going to be something that's really exciting. Like some of you guys might just suddenly decide to like elope, or you're, telling your boss that you quit because you just accepted another position somewhere else and you're like ecstatic about it. Yes, when we have Taurus energy, it does square you. So there can be this feeling of lots of work in the workspace. You're going to feel this over the next couple of months between the eclipses, and also you're going to see Jupiter move into your 10th house. It's like full steam ahead with your career. You're climbing that ladder. But what if I told you that those of you guys who are single, the more that you're showing up for your career, the more likely you're going to meet somebody of a superior status that you were meant to meet as you go through changes in your career. Okay, so some of you guys might fall in love with your boss. Some of you guys may realize that you're in love with your best friend. These things can happen with the Uranus conjunction. But I'm especially curious to see what's happening for Leo risings, because I do feel like it's not just about your career, it's also about your status in the world and letting people know that you're going to the next steps in your relationships in general. Oh, okay. Tarot is just jumping today. So for me, the High Priestess card is talking about, it's like, yeah, whatever you were seeing, that's what's coming. So that's like my free pass card. But the High Priestess is also about your vision, right? So it's like knowing like, this is what's coming. This is how I see it coming together. I just need to sit and wait. I know all the pieces are in place. So it could mean that you're anticipating that there's a proposal coming, or you're anticipating there's a change in a relationship, or maybe that you just know if you just hang tight, the right partner is going to show up, or the right clients are going to come in, right? regardless, you're like building this, you're building like this image for yourself, okay? And I've seen a lot of Leo risings going through this where it's like they're building their career, but it's as the result of like a really solid partner. So relationships are important throughout this, not just who you're with professionally, but also who's by your side in a personal way, okay? Let me know, Leo. I want to hear how that pans out for you. That's a good transit. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You are having Venus go through Taurus in your natal 9th house. My Virgos, it's a sister sign. So Virgo sun, moon, rising, you guys are going to experience trines from this transit. Venus in the 9th house is going to bring more love in the form of travel, teachers, gurus, anything in regards to your belief systems, okay? Wonderful time to like potentially either be planning a trip or getting away. You might meet somebody who lives further away. You might have to get on a plane ride to connect with them. You might meet them at a college or an educational center. If you're going to the airport, look your best. Don't show up looking like a hot mess with your slides and your sweats. Make an effort because you might actually meet somebody while you're in transit. Really, really, really important, especially with these sextiles happening to Saturn, trines to your ascendant. You could meet a pilot, you could meet a professor. It really depends. But Venus moving through this part of the skies is really alluding to the fact that you have the opportunity to possess the money or the wherewithal to travel, to be in a committed relationship. You may be thinking about getting married. You may be thinking about planning weddings or ceremonies. Some of you guys may be also realizing that you have to invest in law, legality. You need to go and see an attorney. Maybe you're trying to publish something that you have written or something that you've created, because that could be the 9th house as well. Regardless, very positive for you because you are an earth sign. If you're somebody who's like, I'm not traveling, I don't go to school, but I'm single, optimize those search optimization in regards to the location, okay? If you're like, I'm not willing to meet love if they're, outside of a 10-mile radius, I'm going to tell you, you're missing out. Open that up. Be willing to meet somebody in another state or even in another country. It would surprise you just how much you may connect with somebody who is further away, okay? Let's take a look and let's see what the cards say for you, Virgo. Ace of Wands, adventure calls. New opportunities creatively, sexually, also just feeling more adventurous, planting new seeds. I feel like this is like you're getting like a power up period where you're like, okay, I feel like this is doable or this is exciting. I'm flying somewhere to go and meet someone, or I met somebody, now we're kind of going back and forth. There's a lot of passion and a lot of drive that comes up with the Ace of Wands, and it does tell us that it's the very beginning part of what can be a very long-lasting and exciting adventure. So at the very least, it's going to be some kind of passion. Good luck, Virgo. For Libra and Libra rising, you have got Venus moving through the 8th house in the sign of Taurus. Now, Libra, Venus rules your chart, so you and Taurus are going to feel this ingress a little bit more. Venus rules your 1st house of the body and anything in regards to your appearance, your style, and the balance, right? The relationship that you have with yourself. Now, as Venus moves through the 8th house, she is kind of going to go through this transformation, right? Anytime we see planets kind of go through the 8th house, it feels like we're going to the underworld and coming back. The positive is that you can see with Venus in this part of your chart, you might have more generosity coming from partners. They may be more willing to kind of give you gifts. They may be sweeter. It's definitely hot and steamy, very sexy being in the 8th house. But there is something transformative about this. So sometimes, touch wood, when this happens, there are unexpected things that come in. It can be tax expenses. It can be that you get a bigger refund. It can be that something pays off unexpectedly. The list goes on. So at the very least, bonuses and extras can come, but it comes from other people, right? So a spouse or a partner might also have like a sudden kind of like windfall that could possibly positively affect you as well. I think about how Venus in this part of the skies is also about wanting to transform something. So you might be really focused on transforming your appearance, Some of you guys might be thinking about cosmetic procedures, surgical procedures, elective procedures, things that are about electricity, things that are kind of futuristic, because Venus is going to get close to Uranus. I also think that with the Venus-Uranus conjunction, it is talking about the potential for a shock in regards to joint resources. So it might be shocking when you file your taxes. You might realize, oh my goodness, I made way more money than I thought. There in turn, I'm paying more in taxes. But it can be that there's a sudden surprise and you find out that, you won a lottery, or maybe that something you invested in paid off in a very big way. Look at what's happened in previous years over the last 2 or 3 years as Venus has been in contact with Uranus in the spring. It might be worth taking a look at and seeing what kind of came up during those times. Secrets can be exposed in the 8th house. We can see sometimes death and inheritance can happen as well. But I'm curious, with Uranus being your 5th house lord, it can be shocks with children, shocks with lovers, and some of you guys with your 1st house lord coming into conjunction with Uranus may find out you're pregnant. So watch for that as well. Love at first sight can happen, and there can just be a really sudden opportunity for lots of steamy romance. Let's take a look at what the cards say. Oof, 8 of Cups. Moving on from something. Maybe it's about finally giving something up, letting something go, and acknowledging that it's time to really let it go. The 8th house can be about psychological triggers, healing from trauma from childhood, healing in regards to grief or loss, and finally getting to a point where you're like, I'm good, I've healed this, now I can move on, right? Self-esteem issues can come up here. That is very possible, because there can be this sense of being like, okay, I'm not going to let this bother me anymore. I'm not going to harbor these old feelings or resentments as well. Good luck, Libra. For my Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you have got Venus moving through the skies, transiting your natal 7th house of relationships in the sign of Taurus. My Scorpios, this is going to be in your opposite sign. So it deals more with other people. This is going to be dealing with your clients, your business partners. If you're married, your marital partner. It could also be about boyfriends, girlfriends, potentially business partners, because Venus going through Taurus can be about money. Well, you're going to have this transit, and it's highlighting both your 12th house lord and your 7th house lord in the 7th. So could go a couple different ways. I think for the most part it's positive, because we are seeing that it does talk about love and harmony in relationships. It talks about beautiful people, people who are a little bit more financially secure, well-paying clients, people willing to tip you, people who want your services, right? But I'm looking at that it's in a opposition to the South Node in your sign. It has been in a square with Pluto, so there is this feeling of relationships moving forward, things becoming more stable and solid as a result of kind of giving up the past and letting the past go. With Venus in the 7th house, if you're single, pay attention, okay? You're going to see that Jupiter coming into contact with the North Node. You might meet a future investment partner, you might meet a future spouse, you might meet a future business partner, something like that can show up. Maybe a wealthy client, right? But because Juno is there, I'm thinking some of you guys might just be really focused on meeting someone, or if you're in that relationship, all eyes are on them. It's all about them right now. Venus will come into contact with Uranus, and that does make me feel like some Scorpio risings are going to be dealing with either the past, or there is a sense of the partner wanting to change and transform something about the home, right? So if you guys live together, seen a lot of Scorpio risings that have been like, I'm back and forth, I'm living with somebody, and then I move out, or they live in a different city, and we're trying to figure out how to move. Some of you guys may suddenly get engaged, talk about getting married. There can just be this real quick development that can be happening in your relationships, especially with the sextile to Saturn in the 5th. So if you're falling in love, talking about commitment. You're already committed, talking about committing further. Yes, Uranus is still in your 7th house. Partners are still acting a little weird and wacky. But the truth is that a lot of these conjunctions to Uranus and the squares to Pluto really want to pull you out of the past, Scorpio. So if you've had past relationship trauma, if you've had issues with your family, if you have been uncomfortable with letting emotions go, People are going to start showing up that are going to help encourage you to focus on stability in relationships moving forward. Okay? Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you. Oof, 9 of Wands. You're like, that's it, I can't take anymore. No more heartbreak. I can't do anymore. I can't continue to keep moving forward. You're going to keep having the same lessons. So whether you're meeting the same person over and over, just in different forms, or you're going and rehashing the same issues in relationships, it's basically saying like you're spent, you don't want to do it anymore, you're ready to leave it alone and be in the past. When this card comes up, there is this feeling of being like, okay, you know, I feel like I'm just starting to kind of be on the mend, or I'm focusing on healing. What I like is with Venus in the 7th house is if you tell people like, I need your help, right? Generally, if you ask, they will help you. But a lot of it is about dropping the ego and knowing when to be like, you know, can you help me? I look at the stellium of planets in your 6th, and I wonder, like, Scorpios, are you going to have an experience over the next like week or so where you're going to get sick and you need to ask somebody, can you bring me groceries? Can you pick up my prescription? Can you take me to the doctor? You may have an injury, and what you're going to realize is that partners are going to come in and say, like, let me help you, let me love you. And with Venus being in Taurus, they're going to give you food, they're going to give you herbal supplements, they're going to give you crystals, they're going to do things to try to help you. Your lesson is to receive. Let people love on you a little bit and help you through this transition. Good luck. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, you are going to be seeing Venus going through Taurus in your natal 6th house. Well, Venus has connections to friends, others, and groups. And it also is connecting to your office space, your daily routine, your health. Interesting conjunction. I do feel like this can be a little wonky. The positive side of this is that I do feel like this is about getting back down to basics. If you really want to take time to slow down and focus on your health, to focus on your daily routine, if you want to learn new cooking skills, if you want to go to a health spa, if you want to, you know, start gardening, wonderful times to do all of this stuff in the 6th house. The challenging thing is what with this transit, there is a sense of feeling like things kind of fall apart a little bit on you. So you might see some schedule disruptions in the 6th house, but it may actually create time for you to go, okay, my schedule fell apart, but like, I'm going to go and have lunch with a friend because I need to unwind and I need to kind of get back down to basics. The 6th house is also about body maintenance. So I think that this can give you an opportunity to go, I'm changing my cleaning supplies. I'm changing my beauty supplies. I am changing something about where or how I'm working out, because this can be about health as well. Yes, sometimes, right, touch wood, we see when Venus goes through the 6th house, we have issues in relationships because it is the 12th to the 7th. So there can be a sense of having squabbles, either with relationships, having squabbles with people at work, especially if you work in an environment where you consider yourself to be friends with your coworkers. You may not get on well with female coworkers at work right now. There can be discrepancies over pay. There can be discrepancies over scheduling and also just organization of the workspace. Okay, so watch for that. But I do feel like Venus is bringing a blessing. So that tells me that she's saying, okay, so we may have some things changing with schedules. So we may have some health stuff that pops up, but let's fix it. If you know that you need to, clean out a car, organize getting an oil change because Venus is coming into conjunction with Uranus, you can do all of these like little things that you need to do to kind of spruce a vehicle up, especially if you know that you have to do this before you're going on a road trip. So really make the time. Likely you'll get lucky and you'll have somebody that will catch any problems and smooth all of that out so you can avert having any issues in that area, okay? Let's take a look and see what the cards say for you, my Sagittarians. I get the 4 of Cups. You know, I feel like this is about like maybe combating some seasonal blues. That can happen with some of the squares and things that are going on right now. I'm also looking at Saturn being in your 4th house. You know, when this card comes up with the 4 of Cups, you see that he's kind of sitting there pouting with his arms crossed, and he's really kind of focused on what's not working, what didn't pan out. And he doesn't see that the cup is being offered to him, which is like a new opportunity for hope or relationship or renewal. You know, Saturn in your 4th house, you can be feeling a little down, a little moody. There can be more responsibilities around the home. And I feel like with Venus and Uranus in your 6th house, how can you add a little bit of more pleasure in your daily routine? If you know you have to clean the house top to bottom, I feel like doing it with a little bit of music on is probably going to enhance the process, right? Maybe making the decision to, you know, light some incense and like really just vibe out while you're getting your daily routines done. It's going to help because Venus is cooking and cleaning and organizing and labeling, and it very much may be somehow connecting to home or family responsibilities. So try to improve the environment. Try not to let emotions get you bogged down, and keep things moving, and really work with like essential oils or smells that can kind of help you, you know, clear stuff out of the emotional body. Okay. Good luck, my Saggies. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You're going to be seeing Venus move through your 5th house in the sign of Taurus. I love this for you. So Venus loves being in the 5th house. That is where she finds her joy. It's about romance and drama and creativity and playtime. It is also moving through a sister sign. So if you are a Sun, Moon, Rising Capricorn, you're going to love this transit because it's going to trine your energy. Physical earth trines manifest as tangible things, right? So whether you're getting money or chocolates or just a little bit more affection, I think you're going to like this transit. Now, Venus deals with your 10th house of career and anything in regards to your professional life, your public image, maybe even your responsibilities. And Venus is moving through the 5th house, which deals with lovers, creativity, children, playtime. So you literally have to make sure that you are making the time and making it possible for you to have playtime, right? You got to set that time aside, excuse me. So if you want, have a date night with these transits, right? Make a point of being like, I want pleasure. And Venus in the 5th, she wants to enjoy pleasure in a very Taurus way. So she wants the date night with all the rich foods, right? She wants to bust out the paints and the pastels, and she wants to do all of that stuff. It can be about theaters and shows and costumes and drama. So it can be much more theatrical in terms of how you're dressing. It may be a time where there's like a younger person that comes into your life that you're hanging out with and playing and having games with. So it can be a child or it can be like a friend's kid. But for those of you guys who are single, this is wonderful for love at first sight, meeting somebody, having a chance opportunity to connect with somebody that just really brightens everything up. If you are in a creative field, right? Let's say you're an artist or a performer, or you make art or music, or maybe even you're like a culinary wizard. Some of your natural talents will come out in your hobbies within the 5th house, and you'll start going, I really think I can do this thing, right? Like I really think I can be a florist. I really think I can make perfume. I really think I can sell children's clothing, like whatever. So you're going to start seeing some of that stuff coming up. Taking chances, gambling, partying, all that stuff kind of comes through the 5th house as well. And it's all about the pursuit of love, right? The pursuit of love and happiness. So wherever that kind of comes in throughout the next month or so, really lean into it. I'm looking at Jupiter going into your 5th house pretty soon. I'm looking at eclipses that are going to still play out in your 5th house. So some of you guys are thinking about children and maybe just spending more time around children or just spending time with the kids that you have, right? Let's take a look and see. Oh, and one other thing. The sextile between Venus and your chart ruler makes me feel like the way that you're having fun or being creative is through like short distance trips, creative writing, or maybe just like online gaming. It can also be about going places with like siblings, going to like amusement parks would be like 5th house, or concerts or shows, especially if you find something that's like just out of town. That might be a great way to spend this energy as well. All right, let's take a look and see what the cards say for you. I love this for you so much. 10 of Cups. This is happily ever after being fulfilled, right? Excited, thrilled, happy, and really excited about the future and being able to come together and just feel like your cup is runneth over. So this is that happily ever after card. Whether it's getting everything you want in a family sense or feeling like everything is paying off and now you can enjoy the emotional fulfillment of what you've been able to create, just enjoy it. This is such a great transit for you. Really now through the end of the year, you're just going to see everything open up and you're going to have so very much fun. And this is not a card that's associated with money, but Taurus is. And I feel like if you're focusing on what brings you joy, likely abundance will follow. Okay? Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's going on? We have got Venus moving through Taurus in your natal 4th house. It's all about home and creature comforts and family and all that fun stuff. I think you're really going to like this transit because it's going to come into conjunction with your chart ruler eventually. And that's going to be closer to, when was the date here? There we go. It's going to be closer to the 30th of March, okay? But you might feel a little bit before, a little bit after. So what happens when Venus is in the 4th house? Well, in your case, Venus rules the 9th and it rules the 4th. Some of you guys who have family who are further away or in foreign lands are thinking about traveling to visit them, or maybe you're thinking about relocating, expanding your home, something of that nature. Because of that tie between the 9th and the 4th house. Others are saying, hey, I want to buy a property in another place. Maybe you're thinking about, having celebrations, parties, weddings, ceremonies at home or within the family. When Venus goes through the 4th, we find that there is maybe a woman that comes and stays with us, or there's a female relative that comes to visit us. Venus being here is also about improving your home, especially in an aesthetic sense. So as Venus approaches Uranus, it may mean that it gives you the opportunity to go, you know what, I want to paint all the walls yellow and we're bringing in new art and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're just going to vibe everything out more. You could do that. I do think that bringing flowers into the home, bringing crystals into the home, maybe gridding your space can be wonderful. Maybe you're thinking about feng shui. That might be something else that's good for the energy as well. There can be some more weird and wacky things where it's just like your aesthetic, preferences are definitely a little bit out there, but nevertheless, it's okay. You may find that there is some shocking news or something that comes out about a female relative or a family member, or that a property value suddenly skyrockets out of the blue. That can be possible as well. At the very least, it's going to be entertaining. I mean, you're going to love having Venus come into contact with your natal chart ruler. I do think that this is about positive experiences and being like, wow, okay, I didn't expect this was going to happen. I thought we were having 1 or 2 people over for dinner and it turned into a house party, but like, I love it, right? So it can it can offer you this opportunity for freedom and self-expression within your home base. If you're traveling, looking for somewhere to live, maybe you're going to be visiting people in another place. You may feel like you're meeting and connecting with people who let you into their home and they feel like family. Even though they're not, they feel like family. And in the months ahead, as you see Jupiter go into your 4th house and Uranus will be there as well, you're realizing that there's like the family you're born into and then there's the family that you make. So if you're somebody who's a little bit of a lone wolf or you've undergone a lot of changes in regards to your home base recently, you're going to be finding like-minded people and potentially living with or nearby them. So watch for that. Yes, there can be money things that can come up in regards to home and family. That's possible as well. And if you absolutely must seek the support of someone, whether it's a lawyer or, a priest, a mentor, a guru, somebody's going to be able to give you some kind of insight and advice as to how to handle the situation. And if you're looking to move or maybe even relocate, I could see some of you guys needing some assistance with documents, passports, visas, things of that nature. So that way you can actually make the relocation if necessary. Let's see what the cards say for you. Definitely interesting because your life is changing, Aquarius rising. I mean, with the squares to Pluto on your ascendant and then Venus moves in, it's like maybe you're saying like, oh, everything's changing. I'm going through this personal shift. It might feel like a personal crisis. But then somebody shows up and goes like, I'm here for you. Like, do you need me to come and stay for a little bit? I've got you, or vice versa. They can be inviting you to come see them. Queen of Swords. So this is cool, especially if you're an Aquarius female, because this is about air signs. So it can be about Aquariuses, Libras, or Geminis. Just communicating, right? And it's just a matter of being like, I love this. I want this, I want this house. I want things this way. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling, which is unusual for Venus because Venus in Taurus is very like what you see is what you get. So when you throw this element of air in with it, it's like telling people physically where or how you want things. I can imagine some of you guys just being a little bit more assertive with telling people where to move furniture, how to hang things, like stuff like that. But it's about bringing your vision together and being able to see it physically manifest. So be mindful of your words, use them wisely, be direct, and tell people what it is that you love. Good luck. For my Pisces and Pisces rising, we have got Venus moving through Taurus. It's going to be going through your natal third house. I think you're going to love this transit personally because it's going to make some nice sextiles both to your sun, moon, or rising, but also Saturn. So Venus for you rules the third house, which is things like vehicles, neighbors, siblings, getting around town, communication, maybe even gadgets. Now, Venus also has connections to the 8th house of change and transformation. I'm feeling like those of you guys who are thinking about changing vehicles or getting a vehicle, this ingress is the beginning process of you looking at, okay, do I have the credit score needed? Do I get qualified for the loan? Do I have enough money in savings to be able to purchase a car, move, get a new iPhone, things like that, because it's about possessing these third house things. That conjunction that's coming up with Venus and Uranus does make me feel like there can be some really strong subconscious needs to express yourself. And so it might be about journaling, or it might be about automatic writing, meditating, writing poetry, writing music to just better kind of get some of these feelings out. You may see that there can be a little turbulence with a sibling, particularly female siblings, or it might be aunts or female like neighbors. There can be some disturbances with the Venus-Uranus conjunction. They can say something or call you or drop a bomb on you and like catch you off guard with some kind of conversation they're having. But for the most part, when Venus goes through the third house, it's pretty words, right? It's love letters, positive, words of affirmation for yourself, and you're getting that from other people. And with Venus sextile Saturn, I think you're realizing that part of holding space for yourself and having boundaries, it's necessary in order to kind of see some things come into fruition that you want personally. So Saturn in the first house can make you feel like you're a little bit more of a tougher cookie, or it's harder to kind of get a response from you, or you're just going to be really stern about what your boundaries and your limitations are. As that sextiles Venus and Uranus, I feel like you're going to go, I feel better telling people, like not to cross this line, or that this is what I need. And I have a little bit more sense of just overall mental well-being, knowing that you've kind of told people what it is that you need from them. I think with this conjunction, you want to watch for sudden impulse buying, because there can be impulse purchases like tickets or cars or gadgets and things. With that sextile to Saturn, I do feel like you're able to practice restraint, but there can be words or purchases that just come out of nowhere being in the third house. Now, because Venus has this connection also to the 8th house, there is a sense of also reading between the lines. Like there can be some conversations that you have with people where you're like, what are they really saying? What do they really mean? And it can kind of like irk you a little bit. So be mindful of your communication. If you're not talking to somebody physically on the phone or in person, some things can be taken out of context, and there can be a sense of getting your feathers ruffled here a little bit. But still, love, beauty, pleasure, that all comes from Venus. So you may find that you enjoy taking drives more. You enjoy maybe getting out around town, trying some new restaurants even. You may be more inclined to also want to pick up jewelry and things that you can wear on your hands or on your wrists. So rings, watches, things like that might kind of pop up for you. And if you've been thinking about moving or relocating, you might be scoping out and taking a look at new neighborhoods and areas and places. Very soon, Jupiter's going to move into your third house. Jupiter is your traditional chart ruler. So if you've been thinking about moving, you will have been scoping some places out. If you've been thinking about buying a computer or a gadget, you've been looking. So this is just the beginning process of opening up to some of this stuff. Watch your words, try to communicate kindly, even if that means putting yourself first, okay? Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. Two of Cups. I like this. I like this for you because I feel like Saturn on the ascendant isn't very relationshipy, right? And maybe it's a sense with that Sun-Mercury conjunction in your second where you're like, I'm investing in me right now. It's got to be about me. Anybody who shows up into my life needs to meet me halfway. Two of Cups is about relationships and partnerships. So I'm wondering, is this like, you know, somebody that you meet while you're just like out walking the dog? Or is it a request or an invitation that you get to go to a party, to go out to dinner, to go to a mixer? Somebody who wants to do something and participate with you. It may be a secret admirer because Venus has connections to your 8th house. So maybe somebody catches you off guard because they say, hey, would you want to go and grab dinner? And you're like, what? You didn't see that coming. Two of Cups is about, you know, joining this other person and being able to have some kind of an exchange. It could, for some of you guys, be the very beginning process of having a new romantic relationship. But I don't know. Let me know. All right, guys. Well, I'm excited to see this Venus ingress myself. Being a Libra rising, I'm ready for it to leave Aries. And I'm looking forward to some more peaceful kind of transits throughout the next couple of weeks. Let me know, how do you feel with this ingress coming? Where is it transiting in your chart? Are you having a Venus return at 16 degrees? It's going to be an interesting return chart with that conjunction to Uranus. It'll definitely shake things up for the next year or so. I'll be back in just a couple days on Thursday. We're going to talk all about Mercury going into the sign of Aries and why that means that we're jumping into action. But until next time, I'll see all of you guys very soon. Don't forget to click the button below, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you want to book a personal reading with me, head over to my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. You can see my schedule and also all of my list of courses if you want to learn tarot and astrology. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in just a couple days. Take care.